Campbell talking about Jamo yesterday. Huge topic. You guys had a lot to say yesterday about what happened. We're looking ahead. Fifth-year option. If they had to make the decision today, would you pick it up, yes or no? And understand, saying no doesn't mean he's cut, doesn't mean he's traded. It means he'd play this season and all of next season, and you'd still have the option to extend him, assuming he produces and stays on the field, which is the camp I'm in. I'm going to get painted in whatever light you guys choose to paint me in, but I would be of the belief that right now I'm not giving him $15 million guaranteed in his fifth season based on what I've seen so far. There's promise, of course, but it can't be promise. It has to be fulfilled. John, you challenge me with, then what do you do? Well, I've got 2 seasons, and in that time I can use my great general manager's big drafting brain to replace that in the interim. Right? Is that not allowed? I don't have to go on the open market and pay $20 million for a receiver. I can do what Brad Holmes has consistently proven he wants to do, draft and develop. I don't think you can pay multiple high-level receivers and multiple safeties and multiple pass rushers and multiple defensive linemen. Like, at some point, someone will get squeezed out, and I think I have every right to evaluate Jamo's maturity before picking up a fifth-year option.
Yeah, well, you still have time to measure that maturity, see how he responds from the suspension and obviously the gun charges. But if you're not paying him as a top level wide receiver, because if you pick up that option, like I mentioned, you're going to have great value in being able to trade him. So on other teams, he would be a number one.
On certain bad teams.
On certain bad teams, yes, he would be a number one and could develop into a one for more other teams.
Sure.
So you increase the trade value of what you will get in return. You're not going to get a first in return.
No, and I understand the risk if you don't pick up the fifth year and he balls out, you've lost a year of control.
Well, and not only that, but if you don't pick up that fifth year option, after your fourth, no matter if he balls out or not, you're going to have to pay more than $50 million if you want him on the roster. So you're basically saying. And it's a longer commitment. This is a 1-year commitment for $15 million. There's no chance they don't pick up that fifth-year option for leverage.
I guess it's fine, and that's the argument is leverage. My point is, I would willingly pay him more than 15 if he had shown me that he had played.
But you already said you can't. You can't pay all of these guys this much money.
My point is, I want guys to go out and earn that bag, and we've seen them do that with Sewell. We've seen them do that with St. Brown. Jared Goff was one that we had big debates on the station about. He went out and earned it. I'm consistent on this. Go out and earn the money, and we'll figure it out later. Someone else will get displaced if you outplay one of your teammates. That's football. But right now, I don't think he's outplaying any of the other guys, which is why I feel comfortable making that statement. And that's not to say he's a bad football player. I know it's going to get twisted. The question was just, would you pick it up or not if you had to make the decision today? Clearly, John, if he comes back and he's playing on Sunday night against the Houston Texans, and he catches 6 balls for 150 yards and 2 touchdowns, and that ends up setting the tone for the rest of the season, he has a big playoff game. Maybe it's a wild card round or an NFC title game. He was off to a hot start last year in the NFC title game. Then, of course, the reality is the Lions' deadline would be at the end of that season, and then you probably pick up the fifth-year option. But the question is asked today on October 31st,
so today
where he
you're
hasn't done
no.
those things. He hasn't done those things.
You're saying no?
Yes.
And again, I just go to, okay, let's take the other aspect that you mentioned. Brad Holmes is really good at draft picks. Is there other needs? Because Jameson Williams is currently on the roster. You don't have to spend a draft pick on him. You don't have to give him a ridiculous 4-year contract that's going to pay him a lot more than just the $15 million. How young are all of these players on the offensive line? How young is Zeitler? How young or fragile is Frank Ragnow, Graham Glasgow, Taylor Decker, who gave up, a couple of sacks, has given up a couple of sacks in the last couple of weeks?
Your point is you want those picks to use on the offensive line.
Right. I think they'll be better utilized on the offensive line. I don't think you're going to go out and spend one on a wide receiver in the first round and still get at the end of the first round or the end of the second round. Yes, I know we have Amon-Ra St. Brown. He was a 4th-round pick. I understand all of that, and maybe there are more gems that Brad Holmes can find, but the better gamble is doing it on the front end.
Texter says, I am picking up the option, but by no means am I extending him beyond that and dropping a huge deal in his lap when he can't stay on the field, which is a completely different point.
Right, so it buys you an extra year to find out if he is that guy.
Right. This one says, it's funny John's acting like a rookie couldn't do what Jamo does. Hey, Johnny has 42 career catches. He can be easily replaced.
Okay. Well, then when that time comes, we'll have to make that decision.
In today's NFL, there's no reason to pay 2 wide receivers. The draft is so deep every single year at that position. You trust your general manager. I can't believe you guys are talking about getting rid of Jamo.
Let's make sure. There's only one of us talking about getting rid of Jamo, and that is Jim Costa.
I'm talking about having him on the team for 2 seasons still.
You wanted to get rid of Jared Goff. Look how that's turned out. Show a little foresight.
Jamo says, this text says, Jamo's mistakes are minimal seriousness, very minor. He's not a bad apple. He's just young. Says he's not beating up a girlfriend or drunk driving. Says, I know you talking heads love these blabbing radio topics, but leave Jamo alone. He's going to help us win the Super Bowl.
Yeah. Let's make sure that we insert Jim Costa, leave Jamo alone.
Let him go. More money, Mo Jamo problems, reads a ticket text. This one says, it's a ridiculous question to ask. Of course they're going to pick up the option. The fact that you're pushing this narrative is sad. Real quick, what is my narrative? That I want him to play good football before I would be comfortable giving him a raise?
No, but your question
That's my narrative. It's crazy. I know. It's radical. It's crazy.
Your question is if we would pick it up now, and I know it's a risk. But if for $15 million, I'll take him as a number 2 versus just about anybody else in that football season, because the Super Bowl window is what it is. I don't want to rely on hoping. And I understand Brad Holmes is good at the draft. Love it that he's good at the draft, but I want him to be good at the draft of continuing to build an offensive line. If they don't sign someone, and this is a question that we have going on right now, let's just say they don't sign an edge defender. Where's the best area to pick one up? In the draft.
Of course.
But no, you've got to go out and get yourself a receiver.
You're going to have more than one pick.
Extend them.
You have more than one pick. They have more than one draft pick. Like, let's not act like you can't walk and chew gum at the same time. You can. We've seen Brad do this, address multiple areas in multiple drafts and multiple off seasons. It's not like if Jamo wasn't here 3 years from now, the empire would crumble. How would they function? They would draft and develop like they always have. And they may give up a pick or 2 to get a pass rusher, which I would advocate for. That doesn't mean they can't also continue to keep the cupboard stocked. You got a good GM, act like it.
I just think, Jim, I'm not trying to be like mean here, but more like Jansen is, but I'm just kidding. The team has leverage and control.
Yeah.
And that's a very powerful thing to have here throughout this entire thing. You have a young, dynamic receiver who is not a number 1. He's a number 2 in this league right now. Could he become a 1? Maybe. I don't see it happening. I mean, the bigger picture thing here is that Jamo, and I think a lot of people would agree with this, is that he's probably not getting extended here. He's probably going to be the first-round draft pick that however he leaves town, he leaves town. But the team
sounds like you're kicking him out.
The reason the rookie deal was put in place, the way the rookie contracts changed 10, 12 years ago in the NFL, is it gives the teams way more control. It doesn't financially strap them. The Lions that's a pretty cheap option for a number 2 in year 5.
Yeah,